funny guy. Up next, Dolores Cannon joins us. She, as you know, is an expert in past life regression, Nostradamus, life after death, and she's going to be talking about what she says are waves of volunteers who are aliens in human form who are coming here in increasing numbers. Why? Dolores Cannon is next on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. I'm George Norrie. Looking forward tonight, Dolores Cannon, a regressive hypnotherapist and a psychic researcher. She records lost knowledge. She's been involved with hypnosis for 40-plus years, exclusively with past life therapy and regression work for 30 years. Now, over this time, she developed her own unique technique, which enabled her to gain the most efficient release of information for her clients and to facilitate instantaneous healing. She's also been a UFO investigator for 20 years, investigating the crop circles in England and accumulating evidence from suspected abductees through hypnosis. And many, many years ago, when I was doing a little local show in St. Louis, Dolores Cannon was one of my guests. But she was also a guest of Coast to Coast AM and continues to be. Dolores, how are you?
Well, I'm about as good as I can be. You can expect. I just got back from Russia.
What were you doing out there?
Oh, I did lectures, and I'm teaching my classes all over the world. I've been to Russia 4 times in the last year.
Dolores, you sound younger now than you did 10 years ago. What are you doing?
Well, a lot of it, I think, is just going all the time. I don't have time to grow old. Let's put it that way.
Still down in the Ozarks?
Yeah, but, in last month in September, I did a round-the-world trip. And that was the first time I've been to South Africa, and I'm going to have to go back there next year. I'm teaching my classes there also. I was home 1 week, and I had to go back to a UFO conference in England and then on to Russia. So I'm just been home a couple of days, and I'm still getting over jet lag.
Well, I'm going to push you for 3 hours tonight. Can you handle it tonight?
Oh, I hope so, because
okay.
I still haven't adjusted, and I said, yeah, and this is going to really help, getting my time clock off some more.
Well, if you start fading, you let me know.
Well, that's okay. I can do it.
We've got you hooked up to a little electrode, and I can push a button from here. And
will that zap me and put me out, or what?
No,
or
that'll keep you awake. You've been doing some research, Dolores, into what you call 3 waves of people that you claim to be volunteers who come to Earth, and they've been doing this over 50 years. Explain all of this for me.
Oh, boy, that's going to take a little while to explain.
That's okay.
But I think most people out there know my work, but I do want to emphasize I don't channel. None of this comes from channeling. This is all from the thousands and thousands of clients I've had over the 30 years. That's where the information comes from.
All right.
I could never make this stuff up, and I've been accused of everything. But, like you said, I've done over 20 years with UFO research, but now it seems like I'm accumulating more and more information that is different, and it's going in a different direction. That's why it's going to go in my new book, The Convoluted Universe, Book 4, all of these new theories I'm finding out now about the UFO case that people don't understand.
Now, are you getting this information by traveling all over the world and picking up pieces from people, research, or is it coming to you also, as you said, you're not a channeler, but you're picking it up from other sources?
Yeah, it comes from the people I work with, the clients. They come to me for therapy. Usually it's physical problems, but when I do the session, strange things happen, and information comes out that they have no conscious knowledge of at all. And that's where I get a piece here, I get a piece in England, maybe get a piece somewhere else, and I have to put it all together like puzzles.
So it is worldwide.
Yes, and I think that's why I'm getting more than the average investigator, because it's like a puzzle. I get a piece here, another piece there, and I can organize it where other people are staying in one place, working with a few clients. And I don't think they would ever get these theories that I've come across.
Okay, now you say that these volunteers have been coming to Earth over the past 50 years.
Yes.
Why is that time period, 50 years, why is that so significant?
It is very, very important. But can I go back a little? Some of the things
Sure.
I say may upset some people, but I think you're used to that on your show.
Yeah, we are.
Well, The information I've got, some of it was in my first books, Keepers of the Garden and The Custodian, about my first UFO cases.
Right.
And they started talking about the seeding of the planet Earth. That meant that when life began on Earth, and this is the part that might be controversial to some people, was that the ETs are responsible for life, all life on Earth. This means plant, animal, and human life on Earth. That's how long they've been monitoring us and taking care of us. Because I've never found the negative. It's always been the positive because they've given me all this information. But this is something not unique to Earth. They're called, the ones that began it all were called the archaic ones. This was ancient, I mean eons and eons ago. They were going throughout the galaxies, planting life on every planet that was suitable for life.
Was it almost like their job, their mission?
Yes, it definitely was, and this was something went on for a long time. There were generations of them. Some had to do, I have had people go back to past lives when they were some of these groups, and that's where I've gotten the information from. There were what were called the planters, the ones who had to do the seeding, and the seeding was on a cellular level. And then there were also the recorders, the ones who had to come and keep records of what was growing and what was not. And then there were others that had to weed things out, so they all had different jobs.
Now,
so
did the
none of
seeding
them stayed here all the time? They just came and went.
Well, Zechariah Sitchin has always talked about the possibility that we were genetically altered. And
yes.
You know what? It could be very similar to what you're hearing.
Well, other people have talked about Zechariah's work, and I know Zechariah. He's a very fine gentleman. But they've talked about his work in comparison to what I've found. What I have found is the Sumerian tablets and his information came along at a later time in Earth's history.
Mm-hmm.
That life had already been seeded, it had already begun, and what Zechariah was talking about is mentioned in one of my books. Later, there were groups that came with the different types of an agenda, and they took other groups and began to genetically alter them to be slaves. Now, that's a different group altogether. It came along many, many years, ages after the original people were seeded.
Now, the original seeding,
yeah.
was it done with creatures, let's say, that were already on this planet?
No.
Okay, so it's
no,
they
began everything. I've had some of my clients go back to when the oceans were made, when the plants were first beginning to grow. See, in the beginning, Earth couldn't hold life. Nothing could grow here. It was all volcanoes exploding, ammonia in the air. Nothing could live. So the first thing that had to be done would be to clear the air and, change the gas contents into oxygen so that we would be able to have life begin to form of any kind. Once that was done, then plants were brought in. But it was all begun on a cellular level, single-celled organisms. They brought them, this is what they meant by the planting, to see if it would begin to form and develop into a multi-celled organism. Didn't matter what kind it was, as long as something began to grow in the primeval soup, the environment of the planet. So they didn't care what it was. But they said life is so fragile, you have no idea how important life is. Sometimes they would come back to check on it and find that even though it had began to clump together and form something, it would fall apart, and the planet would be lifeless again. So then they were, they'd have to start all over again or just say, well, this planet is not going to work. So they had to first get plants. Before you have animals and intelligent beings, you have